Good morning, children.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Which plant division we were discussing in our previous class?
Pteridophytes.
Pteridophyta. And only one more slide is remaining to complete Pteridophyta. And first we will complete that and we'll proceed to the next category, that is gymnosperms. So we learned about the different characteristic features, methods of reproduction, etc. taking place in pteridophytes. And there we mentioned about strobili. What are strobili? Meenakshi, what do you mean by strobili?
Strobili are distinct compact structures produced by sporophylls.
Produced by certain pteridophytes. There, all pteridophytes are not having strobili. So in certain pteridophytes, sporophylls will form
A distinct compact structure
and
called
these are known
strobili.
as strobili. Okay. Then we learned about heterosporous and homosporous pteridophytes. What is the difference between both? Malavika?
Some pteridophytes produce same kind of spores and they are known as homosporous.
Yes.
And some bear different kind of spores and they are known as heterosporous.
Okay. Michael, can you tell me which are the two types of spores produced by heterosporous plants?
Macrospores and microspores.
Okay. What is the function of microspores and macrospores? Sania, difference.
Microspores are motile, macrospores are non.
No, I am asking you to tell me the. Nidhi was missing. Macrospores will develop into what?
Sperm. Sorry, egg.
For formation of egg, before that, what should be formed? Spores will germinate. Which is the next phase, child?
Fusion.
Huh? You listen to my question. Spores are produced by sporophytic generation. Which is the next one, next phase? Sporophyte and alternation of generations. Sporophyte alternates with?
Gametophyte.
So spores will germinate and form?
Gametes.
Without gametophyte, gametes can be formed.
No, gametophyte.
Spores will germinate and form gametophyte. So macrospores will form which gametophyte?
Male. Macro, female gametes.
And micro?
Male gametes.
Okay. Some confusion is there, no? It's cleared? Macro, big one for? Big one indicates
Female.
female. And micro, smaller one for male. So let us continue. Here it is raining heavily, children. And I just want to tell you, maybe our power will go. So once the power goes, some of you will become the host automatically. So they can pause the recording till I join back. Hope you understood. One of you will get automatically become the host. I am not making one of you the host. It is getting changed automatically. So whoever becomes the host, just pause the recording till I join back. Okay. So the different types. So the different classes of pteridophyta are, you don't have to learn any description about these different classes, but you should know the names and also the examples. Michael, the examples, and also you should know the names of these classes. First one, Psilopsida. Example, Psilotum. That's a pteridophyte which comes under Psilopsida. The names and the name of the class and the example, they are slightly matching. So you can remember like that. Psilopsida, Psilotum. Second class, Lycopsida. An example is Lycopodium. Already we learned about Lycopodium. Anybody is remembering where we learned about Lycopodium?
Homosporous.
Very good, very good. They are homosporous. Selaginella. Selaginella is also an example for Lycopsida. Third one, Phenopsida. Example, Equisetum. And the last one is Pteropsida. And examples, Pteris, Diopterus edianda. Any one example you learn. Just one example is enough. So once again, there are 4 major classes coming under pteridophytes. Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida, Cheropsida. Names are can be confusing. So please learn it thoroughly. Cheropsida, Sphenopsida, Lycopsida, Psilopsida. Sida is same. PSIDA is common for all the 4. Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida, and Cheropsida. Example for Psilopsida, Psilotum. Example for Lycopsida, Lycopodium selaginella. Equisetum for Sphenopsida, and Pteris, Edianda, and Dryopteris for Cheropsida. So you don't have to learn any description or details of these classes, just the names and one example you should know. Okay, children. So next we are moving on to the division gymnosperms. Are you remembering about gymnosperms or the points about gymnosperms which you have learned in class 9? Anybody is remembering?
They bear naked seeds.
Very good, Sania. So good memory power. So gymno, the word meaning gymnos means naked. So naked seeds they have, or the seeds are not covered by the walls of ovary. So there is nothing to enclose. Ovary is not enclosing the seeds, or you call them as naked seeds. Usually in angiosperms, you know that ovule will be inside the ovary, or seeds will be covered by fruit wall. And it is inside the fruit wall that the seeds are present. But in this one, that is in gymnosperms, there is no such ovarian wall, or the ovary wall is not covering the seeds. And you call them as gymnosperms. Gymnosperms. So we are going to learn about gymnosperms in detail. In here you can see the picture of a cycas plant, gymnosperm, and the cone also you can find over there. Okay. Now, characteristic features, gymnosperms, already I told, these are the plants where the ovules are not enclosed by the ovary wall. Usually, ovules will be present inside the ovary. And once fertilization is over, ovary becomes fruit, ovule becomes seed. But here, ovules are not enclosed by the walls of ovary, and they remain exposed whether it is before or after fertilization. There is no covering. They remain exposed. Seeds that develop post-fertilization are not covered. Same point put in another way, and you call them as naked seeds. So the most important, the most characteristic feature is that they are having naked seeds. Naked seeds means the ovules are not enclosed by ovary wall, and they will remain exposed whether it is before or after fertilization. And what you see in the picture is cycas plant, which is an example for gymnosperm, and green color. So what you see in the second figure is a female cone. You will learn about that. And on the female cone, you can find green round structures. Those are the ovules, and it is not covered by any ovary wall. And the cut section of that ovule also you can find over here. It's not covered by any ovary wall, or it is not enclosed inside ovary wall. It is exposed. Then second point, you can find plants of different sizes under gymnosperms. They can be medium size, they can be very tall, or there can be even shrubs under this category. So shrubs means medium-sized plants. At the same time, you can find medium-sized trees also, or even tall trees. You have heard about sequoia tree. Sequoia tree is the tallest tree, and that comes under gymnosperms. The giant redwood tree or sequoia tree is the tallest tree. The species or this particular species produce it is the tallest tree. Sequoia or giant redwood, that is the tallest tree species, and it is coming under gymnosperms. For one word and all, it can be asked under which plant division the tallest tree sequoia is included. So you need to say it is gymnosperm, and here you can see the picture of sequoia tree. So next point, normally they have tap roots. Hope you know the difference between tap roots and fibrous roots. So if this is a soil substratum and if the roots are forming a bunch without any main root, you call it as fibrous roots or fibrous root system. But below the soil surface, if there is a main root forming so many branches, then you call it as tap root system. So here they have tap root system. In gymnosperms, the roots are having a tap root system. And some of them, some of the trees, their roots will enter into a fungal association, or they form a symbiotic association with fungi to form mycorrhiza. I think this you have learned in previous chapter when we learned about fungi in detail. So some plants, so some of the gymnosperms, their roots will form a symbiotic association with mycorrhiza. One example for such a gymnosperm is pinus or pine tree. Their roots will form a symbiotic association with fungus forming mycorrhiza. Details of mycorrhiza you have learned in the previous chapter. And here you can see cycas plant. And cycas, as you know, it is used for decorative. We already mentioned, I think, it's used for decorative purposes also. And as you can see, the cycas plant in a garden. Okay, and the cycas plant, they have some specialized roots, and the enlarged view of the roots you can see on the right side. And these roots, some projections on the roots you can find, you call these roots as coralloid roots. And the advantage of these roots is that they lodge nitrogen fixing bacteria. Same you have learned about leguminous plants. In leguminous plants, the roots are having some nodules which will lodge bacteria like rhizobium, which can fix atmospheric nitrogen. So in some of the plants or in some of the gymnosperms like cycas also, you can find a modification in the root. You call them as coralloid roots, and they contain nitrogen fixing blue-green algae, cyanobacteria. They will trap atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into soluble compounds so that it can be used by the plants. Now, the stems can be even branched or unbranched. The stems can be branched or unbranched. And the leaves can be simple or compound. So stems are unbranched or branched, and branched example pine and citrus, whereas in cycas it is unbranched. The pictures you can see on the left hand side. And coming to the leaves can be simple or it can be a compound leaf. So simple leaf means, I'll give you an example. I'm not giving the example of a pteridophyte, something which you're very familiar. If you take the case of a hibiscus plant. Wait, let me take the pen. Okay. If you take the case of a hibiscus plant, you can say it's an example for a simple leaf. Here you cannot find any leaflets. The leaf lamina, this part you call it as the entire leaf, you call it as lamina. Lamina is not cut or it is not incised, or you can see here small incision or small edges or small incision you can find, but these are not touching the midrib. This is the midrib. This one is the midrib. the incisions or these small projections or small cuts what you find here, these are not reaching up to the midrib, and the lamina is as such. You have an entire leaf. So such leaves you call it as simple leaves. Whereas when it comes to compound leaves, you have seen a rose leaf or a tamarind leaf. Let me take the example of a tamarind leaf. It may not look exactly like a tamarind leaf. Just bear with me, okay? You can find, may or may not look like a tamarind leaf, but somewhat like this. Hope you're getting the point. So these, the entire one, this entire one is considered as a single leaf, not an individual one. So this you will not consider it as a leaf. The whole thing will be considered as a leaf. And these small leaf-like structures, you call it as leaflets. These are leaflets. When there are several leaflets and they together make a leaf, you call it as a compound leaf. Coconut leaf is an example, rose leaf, tamarind leaf, even fern also, the leaf of a fern is also an example of a compound leaf. Hope you got somewhat idea regarding this. So leaves are simple or compound. Stems can be branched or unbranched. Leaves can be simple or compound. And these leaves, they are adapted. They have some adaptive features so that they can withstand all the harsh environmental conditions like harsh weather, humidity, wind. So the leaves are adapted to withstand all the adverse climatic conditions. And in cycas plant, the leaves are pinnate. And these leaves persist for few years. They don't wither off easily. So they will persist like that for few years. So what are pinnate leaves? I'll explain once I stop sharing. But for the time being, you see the pinnate leaf similar to that of a coconut leaf. You can see a main midrib and so many leaflets on the side. I'm telling about one minute. I'm just mentioning about this one. You can see the midrib over here, midrib or main vein, and these are the leaflets. But in pine, it is not like that. So here in cycas, you can find the leaves are pinnately compound. The leaves are pinnately compound and they persist for a few years. I'll explain what is pinnate again. So let me complete this slide. And in conifers, see the figure given. You can find in pine, the leaves are needle shaped. See the figure, the pines are needle shaped. So when the leaves are needle shaped, it will reduce the surface area. The area exposed to the external atmosphere is reduced. So that will help in conserving water. Then they too have thick cuticle, just like in not in your class, no? In 12th, we had mentioned about cuticle. So thick cuticle. So they are having thick cuticle and they are having sunken stomata. In cactus also, these features are found. Cactus is found in desert regions. They too have the same adaptations. Cuticle means the outermost waxy layer. 10th standard, you have learned the waxy layer covering the parts of a plant is known as cuticle. So the cuticle is very thick. That also will reduce transpiration. Hope you know what is transpiration. And the stomata are sunken. Stomata are placed in some pits, deep pits, so that if the stomata are present close to the surface, transpiration will be more. Since they are in pits, then the transpiration rate will be less. So these are some of the adaptations. I'll tell you once again all the points. So quickly we will have a recapitulation. We started with pine, and I told you that these are their seeds or ovules are not enclosed by ovary wall, hence we call it as having naked seeds. And whether before or after fertilization, ovules remain naked or they are not enclosed by ovary wall, and they come in different sizes. Medium sized trees, tall trees and shrubs are found. Then the large or the tallest tree species, that is sequoia, giant redwood tree, also come under gymnosperm. And some special modifications also we mentioned. One was about mycorrhiza, where there is a symbiotic association between the roots of certain gymnosperms and that with the fungus. So roots of some gymnosperms, they enter into a symbiotic association with fungi, and that association is known as mycorrhiza. Then we learned about coralloid roots, which are found in plants like cycas, which will contain nitrogen fixing cyanobacteria, and which will convert atmospheric nitrogen into soluble nitrogen compounds, which can be used by the plants. Then I told you some general features. The stem can be branched or unbranched. Leaves are simple or compound, and their leaves, or as such the plants, are having several adaptations to withstand the harsh environmental conditions. And they have pinnate leaves which persist for several years. And in conifers like pine and citrus, the leaves are needle-like. And pine and citrus, both you can see the picture, and they have needle-like leaves. The advantage of having needle-like leaves is that this will help in reducing the surface area. If the leaf is broad like this, the leaf is broad, more area will be exposed to the external atmosphere, more transpiration will take place, more loss of water vapor will take place. But if they are needle-like, surface area is reduced, hence the rate of transpiration also will be less. Apart from that, two more modifications. It's covered by a thick cuticle. Cuticle is a waxy layer made of a substance known as cutin. So because of the thick cuticle, so it is giving thick protection. So that also will reduce the rate of transpiration. And stomata, they are placed in pits. Some pit-like structures are there. Normally in other plants, the stomata will be scattered on the upper part of the leaf, and they'll be close to the surface. So when they are close to the surface, the rate of transpiration can be more. But once, instead of remaining on the surface, if it is slightly on the lower side, or if it is in pits, some deep pits forming sunken stomata, transpiration can be reduced. These are some of the modifications. And we learned few terms, that is simple and compound. So those are new terms. I'm not going to show you the examples from pteridophytes, but I'll show you two examples for simple and compoundly, just to make you understand. This is not, what I'm showing is not gymnosperm. One is angiosperm, the other one is bryophyte. So don't think that what examples or the leaves which I'm showing come under gymnosperm. So here you can see a simple leaf. Simple leaf. There can be in hibiscus plant edges, you can see small incisions, but those incisions are not reaching up to the midrib. This forms a simple leaf, an entire leaf. It's not having any leaflets or small branches. So this is an example for a simple leaf. And what I'm going to show you now is a leaf of a fern. This together makes one leaf. This is not a leaf. These are leaflets. All what you find here are leaflets. So several leaflets together form a leaf. So this type of leaf is known as compound leaf. Okay. So what they say is that incisions are reaching up to the midrib. What you find here is the midrib. Incisions are reaching up to the midrib, breaking it into so many leaflets. So this one is a simple leaf and this is a compound leaf. And there we also mentioned about pinnate leaf. So in chapter 5, we will be learning about palmately compound and pinnately compound leaf. Just to make you understand what is the difference between palmately and pinnately. This is an example for pinnately compound leaf, which means on the main rib, leaflets are arranged. Okay, so this is a pinnately compound. Even tamarind leaf, you can give us an example of pinnately compound leaf. But in certain leaves or in certain plants, you can find the leaflets all will come and join at one common point. So many leaflets. So next day I'll bring you a leaf. I forgot to carry it. So many leaflets, if all are coming and joining to a common point, you call it as a palmately compound leaves. Several leaflets all will be joining to a common point. Next day I'll show you the specimen for that. So palmately and pinnately compound leaf, even if you haven't understood it properly, you'll be learning it in detail in chapter 5. Okay. So once again, pinnately means several leaflets arranged on the midrib. In palmately, several leaflets all will come and join at a common point. Have you understood, children? Have you understood? So 5 more minutes remaining. Let me have a quick recapitulation. So we started with gymnosperms. From one by one, you just tell me all the points. Evelyn, start with the first point. What are gymnosperms? All unmute your microphone so that you will not waste your time. Yes?
Gymnosperms are the plants with the ovule are not enclosed by the ovary wall.
Very good, very good. Next point, Michael. Next point.
They're naked seeds.
Medium.
They cover large trees to small shrubs.
Medium sized or tall trees or even shrubs. Lydia, another point. Sequoia. What is special about sequoia?
The giant tree.
Giant tree or the tallest tree. The tallest tree species. It comes under? It comes under? Which is the division? Gymnosperms. And Vidur, next point. Vidur is checking whether I am going to ask him question or not. Yes, tell me the next point.
The roots are generally tap roots.
Okay. Then, Punya.
The leaves may be simple or compound.
Okay, and then next one, Anthony.
The roots are fungal association.
Fungal association, symbiotic association. What do you call it? Mycorrhiza. Learn the spelling. Now read next point.
The leaves are pinnately compounded in pine trees.
Pine or cycas?
Cycas.
Okay, next one, Gayatri.
The stems can be branched or unbranched.
Okay, stem can be branched or unbranched. Donna?
They are well adapted to withstand extreme conditions.
Okay. Nandana, tell me one such adaptation. Those who didn't get a chance so far, unmute and be ready. Okay. Nandana, unmute.
What is the question?
Yes, Nandana.
Could you repeat the question?
Tell me some adaptations found in the leaves of these gymnosperms. Wait, think by then. Rijas? Now you have to check from the book. Very bad. Think about the leaves. I showed you the picture, shape of the leaves. I told some features are found in cactus also. Nia, I'll come back to Nandana and Rijas.
In Scylla, pinnate leaves.
Scylla, I didn't get your point. My question, did you understand?
Pinnate leaves.
Some adaptive. Pinnate leaves, already that point is mentioned. The next one is adaptations of leaves. In pine trees, how they are adapted?
Pine.
What type of leaves do they have in pine?
Needle-like.
Why needle-like? Why do they have? Wait. Anna, why do they have needle-like leaves? Why pine trees?
They reduce the surface area.
If surface area is more, what will happen, child?
Reduce water.
Surface area is reduced. What is the purpose of reducing surface area? If the lesser the surface area, lesser will be?
Water.
Lesser will be? Anybody can say? Nandana?
Transpiration.
Yes, Punya, transpiration. Nandana, next point is ready? Adaptations of leaves. Meenakshi? Meenakshi, tell me the
Ma'am,
next.
they have a cuticle.
What type of cuticle? Thick cuticle.
Thick cuticle.
Then one more point, Donna.
Stomata.
What type of stomata?
Sunken stomata.
Sunken stomata. Nandana, can you tell me any 2 points out of what is discussed now? Any 2?
About the leaves,
Yes. Quickly.
they have a sunken stomata.
And one more
They
point.
have thick cuticles.
Yes. Rijas, tell me about the leaves in pine tree.
They are needle-like leaves.
Rijas, always your voice is slightly feeble. Check your microphone. Okay, now you speak. Today I will adjust.
They have needle-like leaves, so the surface area will be reduced.
What is the advantage of reducing surface area?
Reduce the loss of water.
What is the process by means of which water is lost?
Transpiration.
Very good. Thank you, children. See you next class.